The Arizona Cardinals just made a move that can flip the whole direction of this team. And it is not just about a new coach. It is about power. It is about control. And it immediately drags one name back into the center of everything: Kyler Murray. Because when a franchise changes the voice in the headset, it is never just a hire. It is a test. And somebody always gets exposed. Here's what nobody is saying out loud. This is a team that has been stuck between two versions of itself: the safe version that tries to survive and the bold version that tries to strike first. Now they are leaning into offense, into ideas, into pressure. That sounds exciting until you realize what it really means. It means the new system will either unlock Kyler Murray fast, or it will make the gap impossible to ignore. It also means every weapon gets judged differently. Trey McBride is no longer just a bright spot. He is a centerpiece. Marvin Harrison Jr. is no longer a promise, he is a demand. And all leaders like Budda Baker are not just veterans. They are the ones who keep the room from splitting when the heat rises. But the twist is this did not happen in a clean, straight line. The path to this hire tells you what the Cardinals fear, what they want, and what they almost did instead. The names they talked to, the direction they avoided, the kind of football they are choosing now, it all points to one hidden question. Was this the start of a real plan or a fast pivot? Because the old way finally ran out of excuses. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Cardinals and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 300 likes on this video. The Arizona Cardinals did not just fire a coach, they hit the panic button on the whole approach. They looked around, talked to different names, and you could feel the tug of war inside the building. Do we go safe and familiar, or do we swing for something new? Anthony Weaver was in the mix. Smart defensive mind, real respect around the league. But the Cardinals had just tried that path and it left scars. Then Ron Rivera came up, a coach with a long history. But history is not the same thing as answers, not anymore. So the Cardinals turned toward offense, toward a younger voice. And that tells you one thing: they are tired of being behind the curve. This hire also screams pressure, not the loud kind you hear in a press talk, the quiet kind that sits on every decision. The division is brutal, the fan base is restless, and the franchise cannot keep living in that middle space where nothing feels clear. A defensive hire would have been a message that they still believe the old way can win, even if it takes years. Choosing Mike Lafleur is a message that they want points, pace, and a real identity fast. It does not guarantee success, but it finally chooses a lane, and that alone changes the energy in the room. But here is the part that raises the stakes even more. This is not just about who they hired, it is about how much of the team he is about to hold in his hands. Because the early word around this move is that Mike Lafleur wants the play sheet too, not just the title. That is a huge bet, and it can turn into instant clarity or instant chaos, depending on how he handles it when the heat hits. The shocking part is the Arizona Cardinals are not just handing this coach a whistle, they are handing him the steering wheel on Sundays. Calling plays is not a side job. It is the heartbeat of the whole game. Every drive becomes a live decision. Every fourth down becomes a statement. Every timeout becomes a gamble. If it works, the offense finally has one clear voice. If it gets messy, there's nowhere to hide, because the fingerprints are on every snap. This changes how the building breathes during a season. When the head coach is also the play caller, the week is built around one brain, one rhythm, one set of answers. Practice tempo, red zone choices, the first 15 plays, the way the team reacts when the defense punches first, it all flows from that same source. The upside is sharp identity and quick adjustments. The risk is real too, because when the game turns into chaos, you do not get to hand the stress to someone else. You have to carry it and still lead the whole team, like nothing is shaking you. Now the real question is not whether he is brave enough to do it. It is whether his style fits what this roster needs right now. That is why the next piece matters more than any press talk. We have to rewind to the last time he had full control of the calls, what he leaned on when things went wrong, and what kind of offense he actually builds when the lights are hottest. The real story starts before he ever walked into Arizona. When Mike Lafleur last had the full play sheet in his hands, it was in New York. And it was not some perfect lab setup. It was loud. It was messy. The quarterback room was unstable with Zach Wilson. The pressure was constant. And the calls had to work even when the whole offense felt one step away from breaking. That is where you learn who you are as a play caller, not when everything is clean. What matters is what he chose to lean on when the passing game could not carry the weight. He leaned into the run game and tried to give the offense a floor, a way to breathe. That is where Breece Hall became the center of the plan, not as a highlight, but as a lifeline. That does not prove he is a wizard, it proves something more useful. When things got tight, he did not freeze. He adjusted, he simplified, he tried to keep the offense alive long enough to steal momentum. Then the next chapter is Los Angeles, not because he was the one calling every play, but because he was living inside a system that stays sharp every week. Being around that Rams offense and watching how it is built around timing, stress, and answers matters, even if you do not see it on a stat page. Now he arrives with a chance to build his own version of it, and the real question becomes simple. What happens when this style finally meets real weapons, real size, and a true mismatch in the middle of the field? The Arizona Cardinals are sitting on a part of the roster that can make this whole era feel dangerous, even before any big splash move happens. It is the backfield. It is the part of football that turns nerves into control. If this group can take over early downs, the stadium mood changes fast. If it cannot, every drive turns into pressure, and pressure makes everything louder than it needs to be. This is why the next few choices matter so much. James Conner is the tone setter when he is right, the kind of runner who turns a normal gain into a statement, but health and timing always decide how much you can lean on him. Trey Benson brings that younger burst that can flip a drive in 2 touches, but the key is trust, week after week, not one flash and then silence. Amari Demercado gives you that quick change of pace that can punish tired legs, and Michael Carter is the steady option when the room gets thin and you still need clean snaps and calm decisions. And here's where it tightens. None of this matters if the engine up front is not steady, and Paris Johnson Jr. cannot carry the whole story by himself. The real pressure point is simple. If the run game becomes real, it changes what the offense can call. It changes how defenses play you, and it changes what the team is allowed to ask from the quarterback. That is where the hardest conversation finally starts. The Arizona Cardinals are staring at the one decision that can break a season before it even starts: what to do with Kyler Murray. This is not about liking him or doubting him. This is about leverage, money, and the fact that you cannot pretend the quarterback spot is neutral. If you keep him, you are betting the new era can shape him fast. If you move him, you are admitting the reset is deeper than people want to hear. Here is what makes it complicated. The trade talk sounds simple until you try to line it up with reality. Teams can want a quarterback, but they also want flexibility, and that is where things get tight. You hear ideas like Kirk Cousins being a fallback plan somewhere, or a team trusting Anthony Richardson a little longer, or the Pittsburgh path being tied to Aaron Rodgers. And suddenly, the market is not as clean as fans think. Even if a trade exists, the pressure does not disappear. It just changes shape, because then you are asking the roster to survive on a backup like Jacoby Brissett. And that is not a season plan, that is a survival plan. So the real middle road is the one nobody loves, but smart teams use. Make Kyler Murray the bridge, while the new staff builds the system, sets the standards, and decides what they really have. That is not a promise, it is a timer. Because once the coach owns the play sheet, every snap becomes evidence. And if the quarterback is not the long-term answer, the staff will start tightening the screws in quieter ways first. With rules, with details, with accountability, and with how they react the moment something slips. The Arizona Cardinals keep getting pulled into the same trap, looking for one special solution that can erase years of bad football. One pick that does everything. One player that covers every mistake. One shortcut that saves time. And every time that happens, the team loses something you cannot replace easily: clarity. Football is not built on magic. It is built on roles that stay the same when the game gets ugly. That is why the old habit hurts so much. When you draft a player like Isaiah Simmons and you treat him like a tool belt instead of a weapon, you end up with confusion instead of impact. Same story with Zaven Collins. Big talent, real ability, but if the job changes every week, the confidence gets hit. the instincts slow down, and the whole defense starts playing like it is thinking instead of reacting. That is not on the player. That is on the plan. A strong team does not ask one guy to be everywhere. It builds a unit where everyone knows exactly what they own. Now this is where the pressure rises, because the next phase is not about excitement. It is about decisions that finally have to make sense. The Cardinals have pieces on defense that can matter, but only if the roles are sharp and the structure is stable. And when you look at this division, you do not get extra time to figure it out. So now we have to talk about what that defense really is, what it can become fast, and what still needs a hard reset. The Arizona Cardinals are not going to survive this new era if the defense stays fragile, because the schedule will not care about growing pains. Offense can give you hope, but defense decides if hope lasts. The biggest tension right now is simple. Who is actually steering that side of the ball? And how fast can the identity lock in? If Nick Rallis stays, you get continuity, but no more. Cover. If they bring in a new voice, you get fresh ideas, but you risk a slow start while everyone learns the language under pressure. The good news is the bones are not empty. Josh Sweat can change a game when the rush is alive, because effort is never the issue with him. It is about getting him help. So teams cannot slide protection every snap. Calais Campbell is the steady wall when he is on the field. But time is real, and the team has to plan like it. The wild card is Walter Nolan, because if he is healthy and unleashed, the middle of the defense stops being soft and starts being a problem. And in the back end, Will Johnson has the kind of talent that calms the whole unit, while Garrett Williams and Max Melton can turn from nice pieces into real answers if the system puts them in clean spots. Now zoom out, because this is where the truth hits. The Arizona Cardinals live in a division where every week feels like a test you did not study for. Kyle Shanahan will stress you until you break. Sean McVay will bait you into one wrong step, and Mike McDonald will squeeze you until the offense panics. That is why this is not a one-season story. It is a two-season clock. Build the trenches, harden the defense, and see what this team really is when the games get tight. And if you want the real sign that it is working, it will not be a headline. It will be the Cardinals playing fast, staying calm late, and making other teams feel the pressure for once.